Welcome to the Bettis Musgrove Show, the podcast where personal injury legal expertise meets real-world advice to empower and protect you. Join us as we delve into the critical aspects of personal injury cases, break down legal jargon into actionable insights, and share essential safety tips to help you navigate life's unexpected moments. And now, here are your hosts, Spenser Bettis and Ben Musgrove.
All right. Well, welcome to the Bettis Musgrove Show. This is Season 2, Episode number 7. As always, I'm Ben Musgrove. This is my law partner, Spenser Bettis. We own and operate a boutique personal injury law firm here in Cumming, Georgia. Bringing this podcast every so often just to highlight the people in this community, community being the city of Cumming, the county of Forsyth, the state of Georgia, and anybody who's doing any great things in the area. Today, we're going to continue that conversation. We are honored to be joined by one of our state representatives, District 28 Representative, Mr. Brent Cox. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, glad to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'd like to start off, just kind of get you to introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you came from, that type of thing, and where life finds you today.
Okay. Well, I live up in Silver City, so our property literally is touching Dawson County. So I go out the back of the property and I'm in Dawson County. We moved here in 2015. Before that, in 1996, we moved off Post Road, and then we moved our way over into the Lambert area, over toward Grand Cascades in that area, in 1999. And that's pretty much our venture here in Forsyth County. But before that, my family's from Alpharetta, and a lot of roots go deep in Forsyth County in North Georgia.
Yeah. So you grew up in Alpharetta?
I did. What I would call Old Alpharetta, which is all the current cities that exist, like Johns Creek,
right,
all that stuff. Yeah.
You went to Milton High School, correct?
I did.
Okay. So yeah, you're a local boy for sure.
For sure.
Have you ever lived anywhere outside of the county or outside of Alpharetta?
Just when I went to the University of Georgia.
Okay.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
That's right.
Go Dogs. We got some questions about that here in a little bit too.
What kind of work do you do?
So I work in the restaurant industry, and I have my own business, and we design and engineer hood systems for restaurants. So the hoods, the fire suppression, exhaust fans, control panels. And so we dabble in that and been doing that for 30 years.
How'd you find your way into that? That's one of those jobs you don't ever think about, really.
Well, when I graduated University of Georgia, I ended up going to work with my father-in-law.
Okay.
And he was in that world as a mechanical engineer. And so that was the world which we started in. And then he sold his business in 1999. And I went to work with the company who he sold it to. And then ultimately it led to me having my own company and doing my own thing.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And I think I was doing a little digging on the interwebs earlier about you. I saw that you're a football coach as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least were for a while. Are you still doing that?
I'm still certified under GHSA, but I stopped when I decided to run in State House. But I coached high school for 12 years.
Defensive coordinator?
At Dawson County, correct, and coached also down at Lambert. But yeah.
Okay.
But we moved to Silver City when Coach Sid Maxwell, who just retired this year, was hired at Dawson County. So he had asked if I would come up and be the defense coordinator. And so we moved to Silver City, and I coached up there. So yeah, from 2015 forward to about 21, I think it was.
What's it like coaching high school kids in football?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah?
Yeah, because you're, I think in the business world, people get older and they're more set in their ways, but even the Little League program, the nice thing in the Dawson County community is there's just one high school and there's one middle school, and one junior high.
Yeah. And
everybody's one mascot. And being from Alpharetta, you were a Milton Eagle or an Alpharetta Eagle, and you grew up that way. It becomes a little more challenging here in Forsyth, at least when I coached in Forsyth.
Sure.
Because all the middle schools are different, and you have kids that go into multiple high schools, and it makes it hard to really find that hometown feel.
Mm-hmm.
And, at North Forsyth, you're a Raider.
Yep.
So it's always great. Excuse me. If the middle schools were Raiders, and, it brings unity.
Yeah.
And so you really have impact in these kids' lives. The big thing was the teenage suicide was just so rampant in Forsyth and Dawson, and it is across the state. That's really what was driving me as my kids were getting older.
Yeah.
Was their friends. And we unfortunately dealt with a lot of high school kids that had committed suicide. So, you're trying to pour into kids' lives. That was the bigger reason.
It's huge. I mean, I think back, I know Spencer played football all the way up through college, so he probably talk about it even more, but the coaches in high school, those were the guys. I mean, they were outside of your own dad, they were your role models, and you looked up to them, and they were very impressionable on what you did.
Oh, yeah. So, major. I mean, it's it was, there's a baseball player, Michael Barrett, that played in the major leagues, and his father, So Michael and his brother David were younger than me. They were like my little brothers, but Coach Barrett, his father, is actually who got me in to play football. And ironically, about a week and a half ago, I saw him for the first time in a long time at Roosters. I had Michael bring his dad, and we hung out there to catch up because I just wanted to tell him thank you, because I'm not literally sitting right here if it wasn't for what he did for me and getting me involved in sports.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Also, there's a moral to that story is you can't go to Roosters without seeing something.
The bad part is there's a lot of Roswell Hornets that go in that place, and I hate Roswell. So anyway.
We can edit that out in this.
No, you can keep that in.
Yeah. So you go to Roosters or Tams, and you're gonna see everybody you need to see in a week for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going from working in the kitchen hood area like you were talking about, how do you go from that to becoming a state rep?
Well, I still have my business, and that's what's allowed me to coach, and it's also what allows me to be a state legislator. Is just, I view this more as an opportunity to serve our community.
Yeah, kind
of like coaching. It's a whole different realm. I mean, in coaching kids, you're talking about work ethic, say what you believe and tell the truth.
Sure.
And now I'm in the world of politics. And wow, that's very different.
I can imagine.
A lot of games. It's okay. It's chess. It's a lot of that. But ultimately, the goal is to try to do the best that you think is for our community and hopefully for the state. So that's a goal.
How was it? Like, what hurdles did you have in the way getting into politics? How did you make your way in?
From hurdles when I decided to run? Is that what you're saying?
Decided to run, going through the whole process of the election.
I would say just minimal knowledge on that process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a business owner and coaching, you kind of understand creating some structure on how to, putting a campaign together.
Right.
Okay, I think I'm going to run for this, and very thankful that I did and enjoy what I'm doing, but it was a huge learning curve, and you were on fast track.
Yep.
Fortunately, I had some individuals that were very helpful, and Linda Clary, whose son played for me at Dawson County, and she had some experience with Marco Rubio's campaign and had done a lot of stuff. And I called her and said, "Hey, I'm interested." She goes, "Coach, now, do you think you can wear a coat and tie every day?" And I went, "Oh, that could be a problem." So, but anyway, I said, "Yeah, I can do that." So
we're lawyers, and that's hard for us.
It's a little tricky, but no, it's all good.
We suited up earlier, and I was having trouble getting my tie the right length. And Spencer said, "You need to wear a suit more often." I said, "If I'm wearing a suit more often, something went terribly wrong. I do not want to be in a suit."
But having people, there's just a support network around you, and I have a great family and some really good friends, and they just said, "You need to do this." And I said, "Okay."
Yeah. Once you got it established, you're running, put your name in the hat. Mm-hmm. What was the next hardest thing to do?
Well, there were 6 of us that ran. And it was Julie Tressler and myself ended up going into a runoff. And then it was Tim Short, pharmacist, Blake McClellan, John Laschetti, and D.A. Lenham. So early on, when I saw it, I just was like, frankly, we had a conversation. Whoever wins. Let's just support. We're on the same team.
Right.
And that's the one thing I would say most thankful for is not negatively going after my opponents. And
which is not common
No,
in
it's
today's
not.
politics.
It's not, because I didn't know who was going to win.
Right.
I didn't know who's going to be in the runoff. But what I did know was it's the same world of you've got 4 quarterbacks trying to go for a spot.
Yep.
Well, ultimately, somebody's got to go.
Sure.
And everybody else needs to be ready. And, really, we've got to make sure we have a pipeline of people coming out of Forsyth County and all these districts that are the next ones in, because I don't know how long all of us will do this. I mean,
Right.
there's at least in Forsyth, there's 6 House members and 2 senators. We got to make sure that we're all creating that pipeline. I mean,
Right.
we need a depth chart, right? And we've got 270-ish thousand people. There's a lot we can be able to work with, and we just got to make sure those teams are ready.
And Judge Bagel was saying today at the lunch we were at that Forsyth County is the 8th largest county in the state by population now.
It's incredible.
Which is,
It's incredible.
I mean, in the past, 20 years? It's done that growth.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the 6 people running for your seat, all on the Republican ticket?
Yeah, there were no Democrats.
No,
okay. That was primary, and then we had a runoff. Okay. And the seat came about because of the growth. So what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So they created they basically redid the maps, which created a new district that was, as we know, District 28. And it's 15% of the voters are in Hall County and 85's in Forsyth.
Okay.
And then your office here, as I had mentioned earlier, is literally part of the district, going over to Sawney Mountain, where Tim's Backstage is, Costco, and then up to Daniels off of Pilgrim Mill, and makes its way out Browns Bridge to Free Chapel College on the western side of McKever, and then makes its way out Dawson Highway.
It's a big area.
A beautiful area, because you have Sawney Mountain and the Lake Lanier area. It's a great area. I mean, I love where we live. You know, it's pretty up this way, and just keep going north. It's great up in the North Georgia mountains too.
It is. We live in a really unique spot here, because you can literally be in just about anywhere in about an hour. You want to go to the mountains and see the mountains, you're there in 45 minutes. You can be down at Atlanta in 45 minutes. I mean, it's a good spot.
Yeah, it's a great spot. Love it.
Rivers and everything else around us too.
Let's talk about your job at the Capitol for a little bit. So what is like the day-to-day life as a rep during session? But what kind of responsibilities do you have?
So I have a strong tie with Israel, and was asked to co-chair the Georgia Israeli Caucus from the Consul General's Office of Israel. So I co-chaired the Georgia Israeli Caucus and was asked to do that by the Consul General, Anat Sultan Dadan, who unfortunately her time is up the end of July and she goes back to Israel, and we have a new Consul General that'll be coming in.
Okay.
I have dinner with him next week to make sure that we continue the Georgia-Israeli relations, and it's just really talking about the different industries within Georgia and the industries within Israel, and how can we collaborate, and then standing against anti-Semitism and the anti-Semitism bill we got through as a state, which was pretty awesome a little bit back. So I have that. I'm also James Burchett is our majority whip. Mm-hmm. He's from down in South Georgia toward Waycross. And I was asked to be a deputy whip, so I'm a deputy whip for him and have been since I got in office. I'm on the education committee, and then I vice chair policy.
Okay.
So I thought I got away from the parents and coaching, so now that I'm in policy for education to, maybe just deal with parents a little more.
Nobody's reaching out about that, I'm sure.
Right. One of the pieces that was really interesting to me was agriculture, and that was something I was pretty passionate that I wanted to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And that was something the speaker and their team put me on that committee, which I was thrilled about because my grandfather, he farmed in the Hopewell community. So I have some farming history in the background, and it's the number one revenue generator in the state. So just understanding South Georgia a little better. So I'm on that committee. And then the technology and infrastructure innovation was some of my interest in the world of cyber and artificial intelligence, and Chairman Todd Jones is the chairman of that committee. So I'm secretary of that committee.
Is it, I mean, that's a lot. Is it normal for a state rep to have that many different committees they sit on?
Yeah. So the rookies,
Yeah.
you usually get on 3 committees.
Okay.
Ish. And then after that, it grows because you're still trying to figure out how bills pass. So
we're going to talk about that in a minute.
How to drop it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
After that, some are on 6 or 7. There have been as many as 8, but I think the goal's been 6 or 7, depending if you're a veteran or not. But that's the goal.
Yeah. And so when you guys go into session first, second week of January? Second week of January, and then go all the way through March, sometimes into April?
Try to be done before the Masters.
Okay. That's a good goal.
That's a great goal.
It's 40 working days.
Okay.
And then there's committee days. So we could have 3 days that is when we're in the chamber in a week. And then there could be a day or 2 days that's committee days.
Mm-hmm.
But only 3 of those would count as actual days, depending on what we're trying to do.
Oh, that's a perfect segue. So when you're on all these committees and during those 40 days, are you spending every day in some version of committee meeting, or is that just voting in the chamber?
Repeat your question.
I don't know if I said that correctly at all. How much of those 40 days, how much time are you spending in committee versus just in general session?
It varies.
Okay.
So this year was unusual for me because I'm on the Education Policy Committee. So one of the education was a hot area this year because of girls' sports bill, Riley Gaines, and then we also had school safety.
Right.
Well, there couldn't be any hotter topics that we were going through than those 2 this session. And then, of course, you had tort reform, but I wasn't part of that committee. So
Thank goodness.
When you're dealing with keeping transgender out of girls' sports or males out of girls' sports, that was kind of what we were focused on in that one. And then you have the other one, which was school safety after the school shooting that happened at Appalachia. So so it varies. I mean, there's a lot of time that you spend in committees. If the committees you're on has bills that, is focal points to get through.
Yep.
To crossover.
I watched it probably a little more closely this year than I normally do because of the tort reform. It looked like the school safety, tort reform, and then the girls' sports were the 3 kind of highlighted issues this year. Or do you think those are the biggest ones that came through, or are there more?
Well, the biggest one's always the budget, because that's
yeah.
We're required to do 2 things. A certain day we start on and pass a balanced budget. Outside of that, we could do nothing and leave. So the budget's obviously a big deal, and figuring out how everything's got to be appropriated. There were a lot of other significant bills that were coming through. We had some really conservative bills that the bills that didn't get through this year will pick back up next year in January. So wherever they were left off, we're moving forward, unless they were voted down. So a lot of the work that was done, you basically have 2 years to get it done between the House and the Senate and the governor signing it.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So let's say you come up with an idea, you decide you want to make this law. How does that process go? How do you get started, and how do you get it to the floor?
So you start with basically taking some notes and writing some stuff down. You can email it, or you meet with legislative counsel. You either send it to them, and there's specific attorneys for us, and they're incredible in what they do. So you can email them or go meet with them personally. I tend to like to meet with them personally because it cuts out a lot of the emailing stuff, and confusion. And then they start doing their research. And if you have a bill, hey, I want it done just like this, and then they'll check and make sure how it lines up with Georgia law. So the bill's created.
Are you proposing language, or do you just kind of give them the idea and let them propose the language for the bill?
Oh, no, you absolutely can propose the language and say, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And then they will do it. They will give you feedback if can we do this constitutionally or not?
Right.
Or there may be a concern, but ultimately as a legislature, you're the one who creates the law, or we are as a body. So, and sometimes the language is not great, right? I mean, sometimes there's some stuff that gets sloppy, and that's when you have cleanup bills. So you take that, they give you the info, and then you sign the back of the actual bill, and other people you can have co-sponsors.
Right.
And I think there's a strategy to that piece too, because if you're going to go into a certain person's committee and they're chairing it, I tend to, at least my own strategy is to go try to talk to that chairman or chairwoman on the bill, so you're not blindsiding somebody. Then you drop it in the hopper, and then they read the bills. Just there's when you're in the chamber, they have to have a first and second reading of this is the bill, and then it gets assigned to committee. And when it's assigned to a committee, then you have to have the committee chairman to hear the bill. So many bills get assigned to a committee.
Never make it out of committee.
I think there's like this empty round trash can or revolving door that I don't know where I think they go to the train station. So anyway, the bills go there, and then if you're fortunate enough and you're able to present the bill, it's at that point that it could be in subcommittee to committee. And by the way, y'all being attorneys, I'm thankful I'm not on the judicial committees, civil and non-civil, because they like to talk.
Use red pens.
Extreme lengths of time, and they're there forever.
Long-winded lawyers.
Only with lawyers. So that process occurs, and then that's where people from back home or whoever come and speak against or for the bill. And, and you present it, and if it passes, then from there, the chairman signs it, and you have a document that gets signed, and then from there you take it to what's called rules, and rules is the gatekeeper of all bills that get passed out of committee to get to the chamber floor.
Okay.
So if you don't get through rules, or rules doesn't get it, you don't get through rules, it will never be heard on the chamber floor
during that session or ever.
Just period.
Okay.
So if I have a bill and I finished it in committee, I then go to rules, and then once again, there's a process, or different people have different methods that they do. It's always wise, I think, to communicate what you're doing so people are aware and you're not just blindsiding just to get attention and get a news clip, because ultimately the goal is to get it passed in the House, to get it passed in the Senate, for your governor to sign it.
I would imagine before you even talk to the council that you want to kind of take the temperature of the room.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean,
otherwise you're, and a lot of people, they're doing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, time's kind of precious here. So how can you be effective?
Yep.
And so once you get through rules, you present to rules, and then you now have to work and try to get on the chamber floor. It gets on the chamber floor, and that's what you see, the grandiose deal. And it's votes, and it passes. Well, then now we start over and do the same thing in the Senate.
Right.
And the same's true the other way. But all this, we have crossover day and all this other stuff that you have time frames, you have to be able to do stuff. Then you go through the same process in the Senate, and then you present to the Senate committee chairman, and they have to call it to hear it.
Right.
And you go through that process, and then votes, and then it goes to chamber floor, and then someone in the Senate carries the bill on the chamber floor.
Okay.
And then from there, once that's done, they agree, they change it, they modify it, whatever happens.
Yeah.
Amend it. I mean, there's different terms for it, but it either passes or it comes back to us for an agree, disagree. And, then that's the negotiation part. And then once it's done and it's passed, then Governor Kemp, in this case, is the one who signs it, and then it becomes law.
You said something that I want to follow up on when you said time is precious. So you guys are in there 40 days.
Mm-hmm.
Your term is 2 years, right?
Correct.
So you really could only have 80 days to get something done. Am I wrong in thinking when you see first-time politicians and they're running, they're like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. It's like, well, not really, because you got 80 days in your first term to really get anything done. Then you hope you get reelected. Is it possible to affect any change in one term like that? That was a long question.
To effectively, I would say yes.
Okay.
And it's not going to be because you were the one carrying the bill or any of that stuff.
Right.
I think where a lot of impact occurs is in the committee meetings. So there's a lot of listening.
Sure.
And you can be incredibly effective by making sure language is better, or trying to kill the bill, or in other instances, trying to support the bill. So to me, that's an effective way you can do it. And you know, it's also a part, being a deputy whip had some advantages because I was able to build relationships with some of the other members that had been there longer. And it was good to understand how they thought and processed stuff too. So you learn some just from people's experience that have been there for a while, kind of some strategic ways that they quickly read bills. Like I read the bills, and I that's something I actually will do. But there's, as y'all know, in the world of law, which I'm not an attorney, but I do enjoy logic and mathematics and stuff like that. There's basic language changes that can fix a bill and make it a whole lot better.
Yep.
And I think that's where you can be incredibly effective.
Yeah.
Who passes the bill, who co-sponsors the bill. The way I see it is it takes 91 in the House, and it takes 20, let's see, it's 56, 29 in the Senate.
Yeah.
And plus the governor. So when you look at that, it's anyone that ever says, my bill and I did that.
Right.
No.
Right.
It takes a complete team at the Capitol to get this stuff done. And we're fortunate enough as a Republican that we have all branches as Republicans down there in the House, the Senate, the executive branch. I mean, you've got the Attorney General. So there's a lot of things that can get done right now that in a lot of instances can't get done, right?
Sure.
So does that kind of answer?
No, I think so, yeah. I mean, so you can be just as effective not carrying a bill as you can listening and making changes.
I would say so, yes.
I like it.
Any bills that you've been a part of that you're especially proud of?
Yeah, the anti-Semitism bill was one that was incredibly near and dear to my heart. That one was personal for me.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of work behind the scenes to get that done. And we're still not done. There's another bill I've got that's ready to go on the chamber floor that puts more teeth into that bill. So that one's another one. But so the anti-Semitism bill, I think, was pretty solid. Obviously the budget. I mean, yeah, that's great. You have a vote in it. You have a vote in it. When you come in as a rookie, you're trying to figure out where the bathrooms are. Right. So understanding where $36 billion is going to go, and you actually have an influence on where that's going, I can go ahead and tell you, probably not.
Trying to read every line item. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but there's a structure in place, and you know, our system works pretty darn well. And, you know, once again, as you continue to grow and understand it, it opens the door for you to have some input.
Yeah.
They can help get some stuff done, I think.
Let's come back then up here to Cummings. So, what's in your role? What's your relationship like with the city, county? How do you interact with the folks up here?
So I represent the city. So, I mean, every House member and senator we all represent part of the county, and the city's impacted by all of it. But the ones that actual districts touch it would be Floor Leader McDonald and myself in the House, and Senator Dolezal for the city. So that's technically the ones that touch the city, but that doesn't mean that everyone doesn't care about the city.
Right.
I've had, so in that, there's 10,000
ish, yeah,
ish or so. So there's 60,000 ish in a district, House district. So a good percentage of those are in the city of Cumming.
Right.
So I will always fight for the city of Cumming, and because I represent the city of Cumming.
Yeah.
Mayor Brumbelow and myself have a strong relationship, and that will continue. We had the state of the city this morning, and I thought he did a good job as it relates to the county. So there's 5 commissioners, and the commissioner that's in the area that where I am is Commissioner Carrie Hill and Mindy Moore. So, and then Grimes is and West McCall are on the education side.
Right.
So how I approach the county is I try to stay in the lane of the commissioners and the Board of Education members as they relate to the area I represent.
Okay.
Because the whole county.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise I would be all over the state trying to be involved in every nick and cranny of what's going on.
Well, I think,
and I've told them I try to stay out of their business because I do fully believe in local control from the city to the county. And my job's to be here to support them and help them. And they have my number. They can call me anytime they want if they need something. And my door is always going to be open because that's the job.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about bills all day, but we can help maybe with some road issues or we can help maybe with road issues or some other problems that we may have with some of the departments across the state. And we could be impactful there.
I think that's kind of where I want to go next with my question is, how do you balance? Because, I mean, technically you're a state representative.
Correct.
So you're looking out for everybody in the state, but you're elected by these 60,000 people in District 28.
Right.
Does it ever come at odds where what's maybe in the best interest of your district isn't reflective for the whole state and you got to battle with that?
We're in Forsyth County. Absolutely. So we're a strong red county.
Right.
We're a wealthy county.
Yep.
We're one of the larger counties. And
great school system.
Fantastic school system. I mean, Mitch Young and Dr. Bearden and Buster Evans. I mean, the history in the school system has been incredible. Our past Board of Education members helped get us here, and we've got the new current board, and I look forward to seeing that continue to be great. So I think what happens, especially like when you get in the world of agriculture and you go into South Georgia and go into some of the smaller counties.
Yeah.
And being from here, I'm familiar with the state, right? So everything doesn't work there like it works here.
Mm-hmm.
And
so it doesn't have the money either. I mean, I think that's a big part of it.
That's part of the equation.
Yep.
And so everything's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you hope that everything would just work and then we could make it work for what we want here would work across the state. That's not the case.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not the case. Or maybe fortunately. I mean, we think we're right.
Sure.
Because it's where we live. But there's some other issues in other parts of the state that how we do things wouldn't work there.
Yeah.
Is that?
No, yeah, absolutely.
So we have to weigh those options. Like, if a bill comes across that's going to affect, because there are 159 counties, if 100 counties or 130 counties and there's 10 this way, well, I'll probably vote how I need to vote for our district, but it doesn't mean that we're going to be able to stop what someone else is trying to do.
Right.
So you just have to have an understanding of how that process works.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I think just being straightforward with with the constituents, but also with your colleagues down at the Capitol.
Yep.
Hey, I can't go here.
Sure.
This doesn't work.
Right. Well, if you got 60,000 people that elected you to do a job, and
that's my job.
Yep.
That's my job. Right.
I think so long as you stay true to that, you're doing exactly what you were hired to do.
Right.
That's perfect.
That's right.
I don't want to get through this without talking about everything that you did following Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
You and Lauren both. I thought it was pretty incredible. How much work you guys put into making food and taking it to North Carolina and South Georgia and everywhere else. Tell us about that.
So, I'm on the whip team, and we have a communication as whips with the deputy whips, and one of our colleagues from Vidalia, which is Representative, now Chair Lady Lisa Hagan, and that's where the hurricane.
Yep.
One of the places it hit.
My cousin's husband is the mayor of Vidalia.
Okay.
Yep.
And she's an excellent representative. She does a great job. So there was a text thread that went out. We try to, when storms or things, we all say, hey, let us know how your area is doing.
Yep.
So we just kind of keep up with each other. And she sent a text that I'd never heard a text like this before from her, and it was an urgent plea. Help.
Send everybody. Yeah.
Help me. Y'all, please help us. And I'm sitting here going, that's telling me there's a major breakdown in everything down in that area, whether it's lack of generators or things like that. But we started hearing about the lack of water at some of the hospitals. And we were, let's see, that was October 1st. Yeah, I think it was October 1st. So I reached out to a few of the colleagues and said, hey, we got a problem. Lauren happened, I think he was in Charlotte or somewhere. And he ended up, I said, we've got to cry out, and we need to help.
Sure.
And got back, and Bobby Thomas, who's now passed away, which y'all know the Thomases, I'm sure. I called up, I don't know why, just probably was just a God thing, but I called Bobby and just said, hey, we're wanting to do some hot meals down in South Georgia as we take some relief. And he said, well, what are you looking at? And I said, well, I talked to Ray over at Wilkes, which is over where you live.
Yep.
Ray's I've known him for years.
Every piece of meat I buy comes from Wilkes.
Yeah, he's great. And Leonard's, I mean, they're all great. They just so happens they're right where I live.
Yep.
So I called him, and Lauren was working with Leonard's. I believe it was Leonard's, yes. And Bobby said, I want to do that. He said, if you'll come by, pick up the check, I'll buy them. Y'all cook them. Y'all take them.
Yeah. Because
he has a heart of gold. That's just who Bobby Thomas was. And just a good human, right?
Sure.
So Lauren started putting together, well, we've got all this product. We got to cook it.
Right.
So then it became
call everybody with a grill.
Well, yeah, with smokers. So now then we're suddenly having to figure out how to smoke this much food, and we got to take it to the various places. Well, at the same time, we were having shortages in South Georgia with diapers, adult diapers. You had lack of baby formula, and these were in water. Well, our colleagues over west, and they were getting water. Coca-Cola was involved. I think Budweiser. I think it was Budweiser. Different groups were involved in getting water to where it needed to go. But Lauren had an idea, and he said, they need a hot meal.
Yep.
So Lauren came up with that, and that's when we started smoking. So we started smoking. We did some deliveries, and the consul general from Israel. This was pretty awesome. They were right in the middle of Iran firing ballistic missiles about the same day.
Yeah.
I think it was about 1,000 of them flew in to Israel, or was trying to get into Israel.
They did a pretty good job shooting them down.
Iron Dome's pretty solid.
It works.
Pretty solid. But she was able to help get some funding from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Israel. And so I got the Penske truck up in Dawsonville and went to Costco, and we worked with Publix and the Publix team, and we were loading it up with diapers and all that stuff. So we had all the Rotaries were heavily involved. A good friend of mine that has been a client and friend for, 30 years. He gave a large contribution and wanted me to go pick it up. And then the Georgia Highway Contractors Board, all personally, were given a lot of money, but it ended up being close to 500,000 diapers. That process ended up being, you learned a lot about people.
Yeah.
And that was really where you got to see the heart of not just Forsyth, because Hall County, the siphons, Paulding County, Cherokee, Dawson, we saw the great part of our community come together. And I think it was probably more because of the conviction that we were somehow spared. And so we hit South Georgia, went over to Augusta, went to, which we just had Carter Barrett walk in. One moment, please. But Carter being from Augusta, and then went into North Augusta in South Carolina. And, we were in Coffee County, and we come pulling in. Carter, how many pork butts did we have that time? Was it, in that one trip, was it 500 or 600? It was, you cook them.
Yeah.
We probably had 14 smokers, maybe some making 100 at a time. You got to stay up all night and keep it going. I mean, it's a lot of work. Sheriff Freeman let us use his smoker. And which, by the way, Sheriff, if you hear this, your smoker still kept temperature better than most. But we loaded them up, and then you had to figure out how you're going to get them down there.
Yeah.
So
and
then
keep from spoiling and everything else.
So Lauren's running around to all the Home Depots and Lowe's trying to find trash cans, the metal trash cans, and you put them in there with aluminum foil, wrap them, and it keeps them hot the whole trip. So we've got a trailer full of that. We got a trailer full of all kinds of product. We're going in, but we get to Coffee County, and the consul general and her team was with me, and we went from Augusta down through Waycross, and we land at Coffee. Another group comes in. I think Governor Kemp had just spoken about the damages that were done, but Speaker Burns comes in from the House, and we had just a bunch of people that just landed at this high school. And y'all, Coffee County, Douglas, Georgia.
Yep.
I couldn't believe the damage. I mean, it's been a while now since, but the amount, just in the poultry industry, the poultry houses, they're like $500,000 to $600,000 a pop.
Yep.
And it's one thing and I think I think you can have 20 to 40,000, maybe 50,000 birds in a house. I think there were close to, and I'm running off maybe 300 houses in a certain area down there. Where'd the birds go?
Right.
They were just gone. Then you have all the recurring business that's gone.
Yeah. I can't imagine just the loss of pine trees and how many timber stands.
It wasn't just they were bent over.
Yep.
I mean, they're done.
Ruined.
The pecan orchards over, you're talking family legacy pecan trees gone.
Yep.
So you see all that. And then I think the thing that hit us, we're all in the kitchen working with the cafeteria team and the superintendent, and they're all, everybody's there. I mean, our speaker's in there. I mean, we're all working, getting the pork ready to give to the people and giving out a ton of food to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And, but one lady was in there, and this was probably one of the stories that hit me the hardest was, we asked how she fared. She goes, "Oh, I don't have a place to live.
Yep.
But I'm not letting my babies go hungry." And she was fully committed to being there. And they, we had, our legislators out of North Georgia up in the apple orchard world.
Yep.
They brought us, I mean, from Steve Gooch to Johnny Chastain to Stan Gunner to that group. They brought us 4,000 pounds of apples.
Yeah.
I mean, we had everybody from everywhere. The Hawaiian Roll Company over in Gainesville, I think we had 10,000 rolls on one of the trips. But we had all this, and then we went into North Carolina, Tennessee. But,
yep.
I mean, and we were in campaign season.
Yeah.
I mean, don't forget that. And it was one of these things that we were all talking. I mean, we technically all had a race, but this seemed to be a more important call than worrying about the campaign, because right now Georgia was in need, and it was our job to be there. So that's why we did it.
Do you know in total how much the Forsyth County group, how many meals you guys provided?
Well, when we say Forsyth County, I would include, we had the Hawaiian rolls, but all the stuff that we did as it related to the smokers being cooked over at Lauren's home in his backyard, which destroyed his backyard because all the grease. But I would say it was close to 30,000. What do you think? 30 or 40,000 meals?
That's incredible.
And 500,000 diapers.
500,000 diapers.
And it all started with the heart of someone named Bobby Thomas.
Yeah. That's cool. I think it's incredible. One
small seed. But it all started because we had someone named Lisa Hagan that reached out and said, "Y'all, I need help."
Yeah.
And that's what we did. It was an incredible outreach by our community. I couldn't be more proud of Forsyth County.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, speaking of Forsyth County, why don't we bring in the representative from the 24th?
Oh,